Let's listen to Honorable Kennedy Ejapong, who yesterday was also speaking at an event, and he has advised the NPP to admit their mistakes and apologize if indeed they want to break the eight and continue to rule this country. Listen to this.
Let's go out there with humility, apologize to Ghanaians, admit your mistakes before you can convince anybody to vote for you. If you ignore the hardships Ghanaians are going through, they will never accept what you are saying. You first have to admit that there are hardships. But then before the time of Ashia, we move. Let's give NPP another chance. And I know we've all learned our lessons. We are not going to sit back. We will have Dr. Bawumia, the Vice President, if he's elected. I've been talking to him. We'll share ideas, all the ideas I have. And I was telling Ghanaians during the campaign, I'm not going to keep it to myself because I didn't win. Then I'm not a patriotic citizen.
All right. Well, interesting comments from Honorable Kennedy Ohene Ejapong. He says the NPP should apologize. They should admit their mistakes because, of course, he wants them to break the eight and continue to rule. But the question is, would that admission and that apology change the minds of Ghanaians if indeed they decided to vote against the NPP? Elike.
Yeah, just a quick one before this. One of your texters said, I said I agreed with the founders. I did say that in every situation, there's always one person who leads the charge. And that is known to be Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And you see, a brief one before we lose sight of some of these. One may even ask, what was the reason? What necessitates the need for the PDA, the Preventive Detection Act? Was it not because there were so many attempts on Kwame Nkrumah's life and the CPP itself, to the extent that Nkrumah himself was even in jail at a point in time? And there were people like even Salif Udagari who actually took a bullet for Kwame Nkrumah. So when you have the NLC come up with the Protective Custody Act, rather visiting mayhem on people, and Kwame Nkrumah didn't believe in death penalty. If he was that deadly a person and etc., or that dangerous as the NPP would want us to believe today, he would have rather been wishing that death penalty be the way to go. So because he didn't even believe in death penalty, he thought that, look, there's a way to calm this situation, is to make sure that people of this nature who are acting in this way, who are destabilizing the country, need to be put in check.
Without trial.
Yes,
I mean,
look,
we need to admit that.
That is why we need to know that is why we need to know that in every human institution, and in every institution after all, it is never perfect. It is never perfect. There are always going to be teething challenges, teething problems, because when even you formulate a policy or you try to implement a policy today, that is why there's a need for you to even review. In fact, you cannot run away from the fact that today, when we go to schools, we still read about the French Revolution and this and that, the Cuban Revolution. But when you talk about even the Ghanaian Revolution, people think that it is about Jerry Rawlings, and therefore they do not want to hear that. That is equally part of our history. Like it or not, you may not even like it today, but a century to come, it will be something of substance that people will be reading and we want to learn lessons from. That is it.
Okay.
Yes. Now, listening to
Kennedy
Ejapong, I just see a walking contradiction of an individual who has already stated from the word go that Alhaji Bawumia was not the best candidate. And indeed, it was not only by his words. Bawumia, apart from being empty himself, but rather wanting to make his opponent look empty, has not been able to demonstrate to Ghanaians his seriousness.
How so?
Don't forget that not long ago, he went to meet the Christian Council or the Christian body and made some comments there, which many thought should be taken serious. And you see, when immediately he says things, his blind loyalists quickly take to social media, take to everywhere, and start to propagate it. And when eventually he was taken on, what did he say? He said he was just sharing a joke. So we have a flag bearer of a party who is a joke. Can he be equated to a clown? Because this is serious business we're talking about.
So he cannot even just for...
This is somebody who says that when he talks, you can't even take him serious. All I know is that he's constantly always nodding his head and dancing offbeat, which has also now become a new style for him. But you see, Kennedy and Japan cannot help rock the boat because the boat has already been rocked. He is only telling them one truth, that they in the NPP must be bold enough to admit that there are economic hardships. But in their admission of those economic hardships, what are they telling you and myself? It is not our fault. It is not our irresponsibility. It is not our mismanagement. It is not by our corruption. It is not by our inefficiencies or incompetence, but rather it is because of what happened in Russia and Ukraine. It is because of COVID-19. And we are going to other countries, cup in hand, begging them for favors, as if these countries did not witness COVID-19, as if these countries are not even having the impact of the Russian-Ukraine war. So when you hear what Kennedy Japan has said, he has spoken one fact anyways. But is the NPP ready and willing to admit that we are in hard times because of our own doing? No, they are not ready, because that will be a blot on the vice president, because he has been the head of the economic management team who has supervised over the worst performance of our currency in history. Do you know that today, as you and I speak, our village folks in the villages are suffering more, because even when they do not have electricity and they need to buy kerosene, kerosene is more expensive. A liter of kerosene sells for about 16 cedis and beyond. More than even V-Power, more than petrol, more than diesel. So where from this untold economic hardship that suddenly has been visited onto us? If you visit our ports, nothing is happening there. The ports have become ghost towns now. Yet the dollar continues to whip the city, because people within the regime have decided to hold funds in their homes, in their rooms, under their beds, bury them in the ground, put it in polytanks. They have become saturated with money to the extent that they do not even have an option of knowing what to do with it. This is the extent of damage that this regime has done to this country. These are the very apostles who said they were very competent and ready to take this country from taxation to production, year of roads. Like my brother said, drive on the motorway and you ask yourself, which right-thinking, sane human being will put bitumen on concrete roads? So now even when it rains, it becomes a death trap. I was driving on that motorway stretch about a month ago in the middle of the night, around 11:54. I had a best tie. So imagine if I was alone and probably there were some robbers by there who actually pounced on me. What will happen? The street lights are not working anyways.
They haven't worked for many years, Elikem.
Yes, they haven't.
So as you say,
we vote a government.
Are you going to admit that your government also failed us to a large extent?
We vote a government to improve situations. Let me tell you, we vote a government to improve situations. What didn't the MPP say about the NDC? What didn't they say about John Mahama? What didn't they say they were coming to do? They said they were even coming to provide jobs. They were going to transform Ghana in the first 18 months or so. In the first 100 days, Accra will be the cleanest city. What have we done? Corruption has become the only established institution under this regime, and they are happy to even be applauded for that. It has become a free fall. You to go and do what you want to do. Just make sure you are not caught. If found, the president may do something to protect you a little bit, but there's a limit to what he can do based on how you are his favorite.
Okay, but would you say that, especially for the motorway, for example, if you're talking about how there were no street lights, that transcends the NPP government?
Let me let you know that under the NDC regime,
during your time where the street lights along the motorway all through.
Let me give you history. You can go back to the records. The NDC, even before leaving the office, there was a contract to actually fix all the street lights, and the street lights were already even being fixed. They were being fixed.
They were being fixed.
Yes. I can tell you that about 40% or more was even in process before we left office. When this regime came to power, guess what happened?
So about 60% of the motorway was still dark? Was
still dark, yes. Okay. You would have to start from somewhere. So one expects that you come and continue.
The NDC had been in power for 8 years.
For 8 years.
So you're saying that within the 8 years, we could only start fixing about 40%?
There are a lot of works a government has. So an attempt to want to fix one and attend to others is very necessary. It is the reason why when even His Excellency John Dramani Mahama decided to build 200 community day SHS, we couldn't finish all though, but over 40-something were at various stages, which they admit themselves. They have promised you Agenda 111. It is just about 4 months to leave in office. How many have they completed? Not even a single one. Not even a single one.
Okay.
So you see, my point is that when they came to power, for instance, in reference to the motorway and the streetlights, they started decommissioning even the streetlights that were already there, because they wanted to re-award the contract. Whether it was there was a time you could even see people climbing the streetlights and removing the lights. You couldn't tell whether they were officially sanctioned to even do that work or they were criminals doing it. But because there was no law and order.
Okay. Well, Julie says that, Bella, that's why Ghanaians voted out the NDC for this government to do better. There's another message. Your name is in Arabic. I cannot read, but he says that's why the NDC was voted out. And so, I mean, for them, of course, if the NDC couldn't achieve it, the NPP promised a lot, came in, and the question is, have they even delivered on the promises that they made? And should they go ahead and apologize for not meeting the demands of Ghanaians like they had promised? Nanaya.
Bella. It's unfortunate that Kotoko, my brother here, the first time we met was in 2007.
Okay.
Yes.
You have history there too.
Yeah, we do.
Don't attempt to rewrite this history.
You can't rewrite it because one day I would write a book on it. Anytime I see the Electoral Commission, and what they are doing, then I remember him.
Okay. So I guess we'll tell that story another day.
So, it's unfortunate that the NDC and the NPP are not taking Ghanaians serious.
How so?
So you would always have the NDC come to say that they did better, when indeed they took over from the NPP President Kufuor's administration, where we had even banks chasing individuals to come take loans. And when an economy gets to that point, it meant that the economy was growing and was being more productive. Then we have the NPP taking over from the NDC now, and the premise that we are going to do better. At the point, a dollar was almost a single digit. And we had the best economic, I don't want to say he was a whiskey, and saying that he was going to arrest the dollar and put the key in the pocket of the IGP. In fact, the IGP was a bit surprised because he couldn't find the key in his pocket. And so now you would have the dollar almost at 16 cedis. And you would have the NPP bold enough come to sit on air and tell you that if it was the NDC that were in power, a dollar would be around 50 cedis. Then you ask yourself, why then did we give you power? Then you would ask the NDC, we gave you power, what did you do? In my view, they are just not ready to serve the interest of Ghanaians.
Who exactly?
The NDC and the NPP. There is a need for change in leadership. There is a need for Ghana to refocus. There is a need to reset the button. Now, let me read to you a paragraph from the Great Transformational Plan, very short one, the foreword, which was written by Balfour Dr. Osei Himan Brechu, the Marehini of Otumfuo. It says that the lack of continuity in government projects across different administrations has resulted in substantial financial losses to the state. Additionally, the absence of a competitive political environment and the arrogance of power have often led to underperformance by government officials and political appointees. Furthermore, the troubling trend of corruption continues to deepen its roots in Ghana, eroding public trust and hampering our development. In response to these pressing challenges, the movement for change, led by Alan John Kojo emerges as a new political entity with a vision for a redefined political landscape. we ought to be able to redefine our political landscape. The NPP thinks that, hey, it's 8 years, and after 8 years, what happens? The NDC is going to come. And His Excellency John has 4 years when he comes into power. So that is the game they are going to play with us. But if they understand that indeed there is a new entity that has come that is focused on the development and the growth of the economy of this country, then they would set up. If we do not change these two and bring forward a new leadership with a new vision, an impactful and transformational vision, with realistic policy prescriptions to heal the canker Ghana is in now, then we are heading to the doom.
And new leadership is Honorable Alan Chairman T.
That is what it is.
Okay.
A leadership that is looking at a government of national unity that would not take into consideration political party interest. You see, when the leadership of a nation lacks a strategic plan but is led by its political interest, then you would hear a lot of excuses, like the Russian-Ukraine war, which we don't hear about again, but yet is only heard of in Ghana, like the COVID that has been out of the system for so many years, but we are still taking taxes on them. And that is where you would hear that a vice president comes to stands to tell you that when the fundamentals are weak, your exchange rate would expose you. And some days to come, you come and tell us that he still stands by it, but then there is an explanation to that effect. Bella, it just is a sign, a clear sign of lack of policy direction. It's a clear sign of lack of strategic plan for the nation to grow. We should be looking at growing this economy. Stabilizing the economy, growing it.
Okay.
And ensuring that our economy is more resilient. It is only at this point that we would have a prosperous economy that you and I would be able to stay in this country. Well, in the evenings, do me a favor. This week, with your production team, go to the airport. And then look at the number of young Ghanaians, brains that are well trained, well equipped, leaving this country for greener pasture. When you have gone online to witness these prayer networks, you know, Ghana is a Christian religious country.
We start from Alpha Hour at 12.
Good. I do Prophesy by Emmanuel J.
Okay, what time? That's 11. Oh, okay.
Yes,
so we start at 11?
Yes. Me start at 11, and then say me born to prophesy.
Hey.
My dear, if you'd ask 1,000 youth in the church, how many of you have your passports in your bags? Everybody. Why do you think it's so? It is because they do not have trust in the economy. They do not have belief in the leadership. And this trust in economy, in leadership and the stabilization and growth of our economy, the refocusing, the interest, the external forces and investors would have in our economy would only come when there is a change in leadership.
And this leadership, do you think that you've been able to convince Ghanaians? Because constantly, when you talk about change in leadership, anybody who comes on for Movement for Change, you get messages like Belinda's message saying that Alan was part of this failed government. What are you talking about? We are wiser and awake.
Of course.
So do you think that you've been able to convince Ghanaians that even though Alan is a chip of the old block, Alan has a different agenda altogether?
Alan has never
come and lie to us like we've seen with other parties?
Denied being part of this government. He was given a ministerial position. He contributed and achieved the little corner he was given, Bella. In 2020, you and I would agree that every single political campaign message that was pushed by the NPP then, that was coming from the trade and industry. The African Continental Free Trade, which is a testimony to the 6 automobile industries that are currently assembling cars in Ghana out of the automobile development policy, which was done by Alan Tremontin here in Ghana, creating jobs. You and I would agree what Elkem is wearing today, beautiful African wear.
I believe it's GTP. It looks like a GTP fabric.
Maybe an ATL. He won't talk because he'll be promoting Alan Tremontin.
It's GTP.
And all of these, when it comes to industrial transformation, Alan has been so very much consistent since the 4th time when he came, since his days in Empretech.
So
Ghana.
his work should speak for itself.
His work is speaking
Why
for
then
itself.
are Ghanaians complaining that he's part of this government? And Maniaka is saying, let me just read. Good morning. The butterfly forgets that he evolved from NPP. President Kufuor left a single spine contract for NDC to fulfill. Without where the money is going to be raised like now, leaving the countries in debt for NDC to handle. I mean, I just want you to land on this so I can wrap up. But again, another message has come in. Another person says that if Alan Cash wins as president, who are you going to be? Never mind, you carry on.
You know, I know where he's.
Yeah, he's talking about how you choose his cabinet and all that. Please land for me so I can go.
But Bella, what we need is a change in leadership. What we need is to get a leader who is not corrupt, who will not be corrupt.
Okay.
A leader with a transformational industrial vision. A leader who would be accountable to Ghanaians. What we see today is purely is a pure exhibition of arrogance of power, where we would have, executive men in leadership, ministers, who are in power and are supposed to actually be defending Ghanaians and protecting the public purse.
Okay.
Rather telling us that a document like Ijapadia is just a mere fiction.
All right.
When consistently...
We have to go. Unfortunately. We have to go. Kennedy Ejapong in September last year said Dr. Bawumia lost his credibility. Has he gained what he lost? Honorable Kennedy should stop playing with the hungry and angry youth. This is from Kipo Elijah Bakari, radical youth activist, and that's a message and the man with the Arabic name says Alan was part of this mess. He's asking me why I always like to equalize. I don't like to equalize. I'm only asking questions. Of course, if the NDC is calling for accountability, we must also question them because they've been in power before. Were they able to achieve all the promises that they made to Ghanaians? It's only fair that we ask them. And so don't get upset when we're asking some of these questions. It is our job. Fix the economy and stop this NPP. Neo Dignia Tukwe. And Bella, tell him Alan is part of this government. Take it away when you die. That's your name. Well, you can say he was part. Now he says he's not part of this government. I'm so sorry, gentlemen, but we have to wrap up at this point. I'm speaking to Nana Yao Sapo. He's a political aide to Alan Tremontin. And also, Elikem Kotoko is the Deputy National Organizer for the NDC. Earlier, we had Professor Asa Asante, Dr. Kwame Asa Asante, pardon me, Senior Political Science Lecturer at the University of Ghana, also join us. And I hope you enjoy the conversation. Let me just tell you about this. Step into the world of Dewa 539 for your chance to win big with Dewa Direct and Dewa Chop Money. With Dewa Direct, dial star 446 hash, pick 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times, or 400 times your stake. And win cash every evening at 7 p.m. and on Sundays at 6 p.m. Early birds love Dewa Chop Money. At 10 a.m., just dial star 446 hash, choose 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times, or 400 times your stake. Play at dewa-nla.com or dial star 446 hash. If you need help, call them now 055-625-9249 or 053-2479879. Dewa Afa. Remember to play cash out as well. 3 of you will get 1,000 Ghana cedis each on the show before it ends. Just dial star 439 hash and select option 2, but you must be an MTN subscriber or an Airtel subscriber. Nashok will be coming your way with Community Manifesto this morning from the Tema Central Community, precisely the Community 9 Market. So if you are around that area, make your way to the Community 9 Market and let your voice be heard. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We'll be back with more. We have sports coming up shortly. Don't go anywhere.